Hey guys, today I've got a super engaging story to share with you all. It's about Fonda, a 29-year-old nurse who's about to experience the most eventful day of her life on her wedding day. Fonda grew up in a cozy two-bedroom house in Millfield, Ohio. Her dad, Dave, was a hard-working plumber who spent 35 years on his knees fixing pipes for the town. He finally paid off their house on Fonda's 16th birthday. Her mom, Linda, worked in the cafeteria at Millfield Elementary. She knew every kid's name, their allergies, and made sure the hungry ones got extra food. They weren't rolling in money, but Fonda's childhood was filled with love. Fonda managed to get through college on a scholarship and student loans, and by 28, she'd paid off her debt and became a nurse practitioner at the local community clinic. 2 years before the wedding, Fonda met Garrett Whitfield. His family was a different world. They were real estate developers, 3 generations deep. Their name was on subdivisions, commercial plazas, and they were members of a country club for 25 years. Garrett was charming. He opened doors, took her to fancy French restaurants, and Fonda quickly fell in love. But Garrett's mom, Constance, was a bit of a snob. The first time Fonda met her, Constance looked her up and down and made a comment about her job at the community clinic. Fonda tried to brush it off, thinking it was just how the wealthy talked. When Garrett proposed, the wedding planning began, and that's when things started to go south. Constance took over everything. She chose the Whitfield Country Club as the venue instead of the little church where Fonda's parents got married. She picked her friend Diane as the wedding planner and also chose the menu. When Fonda's mom suggested adding her delicious fried chicken as an appetizer, Constance said it was sweet, but not appropriate for a seated dinner. Fonda pushed back a few times, but Garrett always told her to let his mom have her way, saying that after the wedding, it would be just the two of them with their own rules. Fast forward to the morning of the wedding, June 14th. Fonda woke up in her old bedroom at her parents' house. When she got to the country club, she noticed that the Whitfield guests were filling the front rows and center tables, while her guests were scattered towards the back. During the ceremony, everything seemed to go smoothly. But after the ceremony, when Fonda went to check the reception hall, she got a huge shock. The seating chart had been changed. Table 1, where both sets of parents were supposed to sit, was now filled with Whitfield family members and their associates. Fonda's parents had been moved to table 14, the last table in the room wedged between the kitchen door and a trash can. The chairs were folding chairs and the overhead light was dimmer. Fonda was furious. She found the wedding coordinator, Diane, who said Constance had adjusted the chart that morning and claimed Fonda had approved. Fonda knew she'd never approved such a thing. She then went to find Garrett, hoping he'd fix it. But Garrett just shrugged it off, saying it wasn't a big deal and that they had 200 guests to think about. He said his mom had her reasons and that the Hendersons and Porters, who were important business associates, were sitting at table 1. Fonda was heartbroken. She then discovered that her parents' names had been removed from the wedding program. In the original version she'd approved, her parents were listed first with a heartfelt thank you. But Constance had had it reprinted without their names. As Fonda was walking back to confront Garrett again, she overheard Constance and Garrett talking. Constance said Fonda's dad looked poor in his old suit and her mom's self-sewn dress was embarrassing. She said they didn't belong at the front table. And to Fonda's horror, Garrett agreed, saying her parents were fine in the back and that it was more appropriate. That was the last straw for Fonda. She knew she couldn't marry into a family that disrespected her parents. Margot informed her that the marriage license hadn't been signed yet. The plan was to sign it after dinner, but until then, legally, she wasn't married. Fonda then found her parents at table 14. Her dad was trying to be stoic, but Fonda could see the discomfort in his eyes. Her mom was trying to hide her embarrassment. A server pushed through the kitchen door, making a loud noise, and her mom flinched. Fonda saw how they were being treated, and she knew she had to do something. She saw Constance walk by table 14 with her friend Vivian. Constance made a snide comment about Fonda's mom's dress, saying someone should have bought her a proper one and that she should know her place. Fonda's mom was clearly hurt, and her dad just held her hand under the table. Fonda decided to take matters into her own hands. She grabbed Garrett's arm at the dance floor and told him what his mom had just done. She demanded that he make his mom apologize. but Garrett refused, saying he didn't want to make a scene in front of 200 guests. He said her parents would be fine and that they should just get through the dinner. Fonda was done. She walked back to table 14 and sat down with her parents. She told her mom that her family was here, so she was here. Then she signaled to Margot, who nodded back. Fonda got up, walked to the stage, and took the microphone from the MC, Derek. The room fell silent as Fonda began to speak. She told everyone about the seating chart change, how Constance had moved her parents, and what Garrett had said. She pointed out that her parents had put $12,000 towards the wedding, money they'd saved over 15 years, and yet they were being treated like they didn't matter. She said she couldn't sign the marriage license because she deserved a partner who would stand up for her family. Margot called to confirm that the marriage license was still unsigned, so legally she was never married. Garrett and his parents had been calling, but Fonda had blocked their numbers. 2 weeks later, Fonda found out she was pregnant. She knew she had to tell Garrett, so she sent him an email through her lawyer, Margot. She said she was pregnant, she was keeping the baby, and if he wanted parental rights, all communication would go through legal counsel. Garrett's response was a series of emails. First, he pleaded with her to come back and raise the baby together. Then he threatened to fight for custody, saying she had no idea what she was up against. Finally, he said she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Constance also called Fonda's dad, but he told her to talk to Fonda's lawyer. Margot connected Fonda with a custody attorney, Hannah Wells. Hannah said that Ohio courts favored the primary caregiver. And with Fonda's stable job and family support, she was in a strong position. Fonda filed the paperwork, and things started to happen for the Whitfields. Jim Henderson, one of Richard's big business partners, pulled out of a project worth over $300,000. He said he didn't want to work with a family that treated people the way the Whitfields had treated Fonda's family. Constance also faced consequences at the Hope Foundation. She'd chaired their annual gala for 6 years, but after what happened at the wedding, the board received calls from donors, and she was asked to step back. He said he wanted to apologize in person and talk to Fonda, but Fonda's dad told him to go through the lawyers if he wanted to be part of the child's life. Garrett got frustrated and said they regretted, but Fonda's dad just closed the door. Over the next few months, Fonda focused on building a new life. She found an apartment 3 blocks from her parents. Her mom sewed curtains for all the windows, and her dad fixed up everything in the apartment. Fonda dropped to part-time at the clinic during her last trimester. Elise Marie Marshall was born on a Tuesday morning. Fonda gave her the Marshall name, proud to carry on her parents' legacy. Richard Whitfield sent Fonda a letter, apologizing for not saying anything when all the drama happened at the wedding. He said he didn't expect forgiveness and wasn't asking for access to his granddaughter, but if she ever allowed it, he'd be grateful. A year later, Elise is 13 months old. Fonda is back full-time at the clinic and has been promoted to shift lead. Garrett has 2 weekends a month with Elise, and they communicate through a co-parenting app. Constance isn't part of the arrangement because Fonda set a boundary that any visit with extended family requires her or her parents' supervision. Fonda's life is filled with love and simplicity. She has her family, her friends, and a beautiful daughter. She's proud of where she comes from and knows she made the right decision. So, what would you have done if you were in Fonda's shoes? Let me know in the comments.